Now, recently, Donald Trump has been talking a lot about rigged elections. Hillary Clinton's going to win only if she rigs the election against me, because the American people is so far behind Donald Trump with his, sexism and all that stuff, which other polls have suggested not so much behind Donald Trump. Like every major poll from every different major polling organization, but what do they know? They're only using facts, logic, and reason, as well as actual polling methods that are scientific. Now, once again, he's claiming that this election is going to be stolen by Hillary Clinton due to voter fraud. And I've got a poll here from a Politico Morning Consult poll. And what it looked at is, do Americans think that it's going to be rigged? Now, yes, it seems to be having quite an effect. His assertions of going out there and saying, yes, this election is totally going to be stolen, it's totally going to be rigged. 73% of Republicans polled think that the election could be taken from Donald Trump. Almost 3/4 of Republicans. God damn it, Hillary Clinton, she's going to steal the election from me. She's just going to take it. She can take it right out of my hands. That's it. Stolen. Gone. Really. Just 17% of Democrats say that, yeah, we could have some voter fraud in the ballot box. 17% of Democrats. Okay. Now, Trump is saying, look, it's not like we're having problems with registration or some of the stuff that we saw during the primary, for example, on the Democratic side, or polling places close. No, that she's going to literally come in and swoop your vote. She's going to steal it. She's going to take it. He tweets out, of course there is a large-scale voter fraud happening on and before Election Day. But wait, it's not Election Day yet. Nobody's cast any votes. Yes, there are some early mail-in votes, which anybody, if you have the system of mail-in ballots, well, you could take advantage of that, whether you're a Republican or you're a Democrat. Okay, sure. Now he goes on to claim that the election is being rigged by the media in a coordinated effort with the Clinton campaign by putting stories that never happened into the news cycle. But stories in the news done by journalists, done by people who are reporting the news, have nothing to do with actual voting. Are you claiming that the votes are going to be stolen by Hillary Clinton and the media? But no, I don't understand. I don't get it. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that they're going to steal your votes, or are you saying that, hey, the media is against me? Because if you're saying, hey, the corporate media is kind of against me, well, looking at some of the narratives, I would kind of agree. But it's not because they're against you because they love Hillary Clinton. Yes, they do like Hillary Clinton, but they also don't like you because you say stupid, horrible, misogynistic, sexist shit. Okay? But it's not a conspiracy against you to point out what you've actually said. The stuff that you've said. The horrible things about Mexicans and Muslims and how you like to admit it to grope women. The Hollywood Access tapes aren't an accident. You said them. And look, even Billy Bush, the annoying little frat boy that was in that tape, he got busted for it. He got in trouble for this. He's no longer hosting the third hour of some morning show. I don't know, like this morning or ABC. I don't know. Anyway, look, and here's the other thing, right? Now there's a contingent of Trump supporters that are saying, look, yeah, but you can't believe that. It's fake. All those women coming out. What a coincidence that they all just happen to come out at almost the same time. Look, maybe some of them are fake. We don't know, right? But it can't be all of them. There's a lot of stories. This is having the Cosby effect. One comes out, and then you get about a dozen. It opens the floodgates. And look, a lot of people, you could claim that, okay, look, why are they coming out? Why are they coming out? It's a coincidence, right? It can't be a coincidence. Well, it could be that these women now feel emboldened to share their stories. of like, oh, hey, you know what? You're coming out and saying that. You know what? That happened to me too. And I just didn't say anything because Trump's a powerful person who has, a lot of media, social media following, a lot of media following. He's got a lot of power. He could destroy me. Okay. Now, here's the other thing about that, right? See, in the tapes, Trump admitted to, I come up and I kissed him. I put the Tic Tacs in my mouth and I come kissed him. Maybe I'll grab him by the pussy. That's what I do. He admitted to doing it. He admitted to doing this, right? So, look, there's that on the allegations, right? He's blaming the media for stuff that he has done. He's not taking personal responsibility for his own words and his own actions, which is pretty consistent with the Trump campaign. Pretty consistent to what he's always done. Not taking responsibility when he fucks up. Now, he's blaming the media, which is ironic. Because it's the same media, by the way, that gave him billions of dollars in free television coverage. So much so that he hasn't had to spend very much at all on traditional media ad buys. Why am I going to buy ads when I can just show up, when I can call it in the Morning Joe? Yeah, there was a time where you had the Joe Mance. I just came up with that, by the way. The Joe Mance. Where he'd call it in to Joe Scarborough, and they'd talk and they'd laugh and they'd hold special little town halls and all that. Yeah. That media is the one you're blaming now for your fuck-ups. And that's the media that you think is rigging the system against you by using your own words. Okay. Yeah, interesting. There were also some, I think, WikiLeaks emails that showed that the Clinton campaign sought to elevate Trump in the media so that he would win the primary because he's considered far easier to beat than a lot of the other Republicans. Interesting. Now back to the poll, right? Now, that same poll shows that a lot of voters approve and saying, yeah, there are some legitimate questions with our electoral process. 60% of those polls said it's necessary to raise questions about the accuracy of election results because the election could be compromised by 1, voter fraud, or 2, a foreign government, perhaps Russia, right? And specifically, 70% of Republicans said it's absolutely necessary to question the results based on those two different things. Look, on the facts, voters, they're partly right to be concerned. And let me explain why. There are some big issues with our electoral process. However, at least the first one about voter fraud, not an actual issue. You see, here's the thing about Trump. He's claiming that voter fraud is going to happen. Voter fraud, like in-person voter fraud. Like people are going to vote multiple times for Hillary Clinton. Yeah, right. Okay. The facts don't actually bear that out. And let me give you some examples. But first, there is some other stuff. There's other theories going around like, there's the old one where Republicans will claim that the Democrats will just bus in undocumented immigrants to vote, which doesn't happen. There's no proof of that, but they allege it anyway. Now, the real issue is not in-person voter fraud or people voting multiple times or stuff in the ballot, whatever, right? No. Actually, you are far more likely, statistically, to get struck by lightning in Texas than actually witness in-person voter fraud. Now, what's far more likely, and we saw this during the primary, especially on the Democratic side, we saw voter suppression. We saw changed registrations. We saw a lack of polling places. We saw very, very long lines. So, look, there's some issues. And look, you could also point out the voting machines that are notoriously unreliable. That's a real issue. Those things could be hacked by a foreign government or could be hacked by anybody just wanting to, fuck with somebody's election. That is why, that issue, that's why I'm in favor of hand-counted paper ballots, by the way. That's the way to go, because that way at least you've got verification. You can't hack a paper ballot, okay? And you're in full view of election officials who are, nonpartisan. They're supposed to sit there and watch. So those are legitimate issues. And if you want to fix some of those issues, there are ways to go about doing so. For example, the registration, why don't you have either same-day registration or automatic voter registration? That might help. A voting holiday would help with the long lines, more polling places, more funding for polling places, hand-counted paper ballots, all that stuff. That would actually help fix these real problems that we have in our voting system. Oh, but of course, Republicans, for the most part, aren't actually in favor of that. See, a lot of these Republicans are ironically in favor of laws that will end up disenfranchising them as well, while having almost little to no effect on the actual vote. See, these voter ID laws, these were only set up to stop in-person voter fraud, which, to be honest, is the stupidest way to try to steal an election. It's really dumb. You're not going to affect the outcome by saying, oh, I'm Bob down the street. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't work. It's very inefficient. There are simply better ways to steal an election. And besides, with the level of voter apathy that we have right now in this country, especially when it comes to liberals, for example, it is really hard to believe that someone would risk jail time and go through the process of attempting in-person voter fraud in order to vote for somebody that most view as a terrible candidate. Let's be honest. But even with that, 80% of registered voters say that they are somewhat or very confident that their own vote will end up being counted in November. However, 30% of those same voters, and this is where it gets interesting, expressed skepticism that votes will be counted across the country. I mean, sure, I've got faith that my vote's going to be counted. But Bob, I don't know if his vote's going to get counted. We might investigate. Awesome. But now, according to Kyle Drop, co-founder and chief research officer at Morning Consult, the results show that voters are increasingly losing confidence that votes around the country will be counted accurately on Election Day. The sentiment especially rings true among Trump supporters, with half expressing concern about a rigged election. Okay, so look, we're having a little fun with this poll, obviously, but there's a serious component to it as well. And here's the problem, right, from Trump's rhetoric. If you don't feel like your vote is going to be counted, that the election was rigged, you're going to feel that your candidate, or that the candidate that is ultimately elected, will end up being illegitimate. Now, we've seen a lot of that with Republicans and President Obama. Oh, how could Obama win? Now, he done stole the election with, Saul Alinsky and whatever that other guy, George Soros, the guy that's supposed to be giving us all this check. I haven't got my check, George. What the hell? What the hell? That's what they feel about President Obama. They think that he's a Kenyan Muslim usurper not born in America. Okay, but what Trump's doing is that he's taking that to a bigger level by saying that it's going to be openly rigged. It wasn't McCain saying it last time. It wasn't Mitt Romney saying, no, the election is rigged, she's going to steal it from me, and if I win and it's not rigged, then I'm going to jail her for attempting to rig it again. Wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense now, does it? No, because it's the rantings of a madman, of an idiot. And the problem is that so many people believe him and follow him that this endangers the democratic process and actually threatens a peaceful transfer of power from one president to the other. Make no mistake, this rhetoric, though in Trump's case, self-serving, he's too much of an idiot to think of the ramifications. It makes nearly half of America distrustful of who our next president will be, that the process was somehow not legitimate. And that's dangerous. Now, at what point does that kind of rhetoric spur people to take violent action? Now, it's not like we haven't heard threats of this already in this election cycle, much less the last election cycle. We've had Republicans openly call for armed revolution if Hillary Clinton wins. Sheriff Clark, for example, tweeted out, excuse me, it's incredible that our institutions of government, White House, Congress, Department of Justice, and big media are all corrupt, and all we do is bitch. Pitchforks and torches times. Okay. Pitchforks and torches. Okay. Look, if you're talking about protesting and wanting to change the system, that's 100% fine. That's legitimate. That's what the First Amendment is about. However, I doubt some of his followers will get the message. For example, a recent story of a guy, and I forget his name. If she's in office, I hope we can start a coup. She should be in prison or shot. That's how I feel about it. We're going to have a revolution and take them out of office if that's what it takes. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed, but that's what it's going to take. I would do whatever I can for this country. It's not, I don't know, maybe. It's, no, we're going to have a revolution. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed. This isn't, we're going to go out and protest because we don't think that the election system was fair. This is, no, we're going to go up and shoot some people. Ugh. That's dangerous. Here's more. Trump 2016 or America burns from coast to coast. CNN, MSNBC, and Fox will burn. Liberals will die in the tens of millions. Hashtag hang Hillary on November 9th. That is another tweet from a so-called conservative. Then you have this one. Quote, I want us to be able to fight ideologically, mentally, spiritually, economically, so that we don't have to do it physically. Okay, hey, look, if you're saying, yes, let's fight for our ideals, let's get out the message, let's get out the word, let's fight in the way that we can at the ballot box. I totally agree with that. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm going to be doing against Donald Trump, and that's what I'm going to be doing against Hillary Clinton as well. But then he adds, quote, but that may be in fact be the case. Fighting physically, he means. Quote, the roots of the tree of liberty are watered by what? The blood. Of who? The tyrants, to be sure. But who else? The patriots, whose blood will be shed. It may be that of those in this room. It might be that of our children and grandchildren. Now, okay, you could say, look, these are random people. They don't represent all Republicans, obviously, except that last one I just read was Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin. He kind of represents the state of Kentucky. After all, they did vote for him. So this kind of worldview does represent a sizable, scary amount of Republicans. And see, that's why this rhetoric matters. Yes, we've got issues with our system of voting. You'll get no argument with me. Okay, I agree with that. I pointed out a lot of the irregularities that we have, that we're not as good at ensuring that the vote is counted, right? That we're not ensuring the best of our electoral system. But seriously, you can't go around and threaten violent revolution. You can't say we have an illegitimate president, let's overthrow them. That's not how you do this. We've got to work within the system to fix our actual issues with voting. And sadly, that's not the way we're going. We're going the other way. That's where this rhetoric on the right from Donald Trump and others seems to lead. Look, I said it before. We fight Hillary Clinton. We fight Donald Trump at the ballot box. At the ballot box. Nowhere else. Because if you start going down that other road, it leads down a dark road that no one should ever want to go down. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.